talking about 8 things we wish we would have known before studying abroad here in Central Asia. So we're just gonna kind of be honest about our study abroad experiences and just kind of like how we felt about being here. Right, Glenn?
Mm-hmm.
All right. You know, because studying abroad could just feel like it's so great, but sometimes I feel like it comes with challenges.
There's nothing like home, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, there's nothing like home, but you really do enjoy being here and you get an amazing experience. But there are things that you should mentally prepare for before going abroad.
And physically.
Yeah.
And financially.
Yeah. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you see us like looking over here, it's because we have a couple of notes of what we want to talk to you about. So first thing we want to talk about with you all is pricing. So what do you think about the prices here?
Things in Almaty are pretty cheap compared to America, except for some luxury items that we'll talk about later. So for example, clothes are pretty cheap. Are they the best quality?
I feel like you could get some good quality clothes here that are pretty cheap. So like I got this scarf and it's like really good quality and it was only $10. But not only the clothes, because you can find a lot of, you know, the food.
Food, sushi.
It's also, yeah, sushi. We get sushi all the time. And in the American councils, they gave us like this whole orientation like packet on Kazakhstan, but I don't feel like they really resembled that to Kazakhstan's then. And I feel like if I had just read the manual, I probably would have chosen to go to St. Petersburg, and I feel like you would have spent a lot more in Europe than you would be spending here in Central Asia. So
Phoenix is pretty cheap. So transport, pretty cheap, including the buses. If you get a Metro card, it's like 40 cents per tap or whatever. Or even less. I think it says 40 cents if you don't have the pass.
Yeah.
And then entertainment is pretty cheap, like the movies.
we go to the movies, and we spend $6, which is like $3 per person. So it's really cheap. Yeah. All right. Topic number 2, safety. What do you think about safety?
You should start.
Okay, so the thing about here, as we were talking about Yandex, so here's just like a little example of how safety works here, is that when you're in the car, they'll have like, sometimes they have like the seat belt, but they won't have the buckle.
They
Or
hide
they'll have, yeah, they'll hide the seat belts, and it's like, you do travel a lot here, and we do use Yandex a lot, but you never wear your seatbelt. And like, I kind of understand this because of, okay, not that I agree with it, but I do understand it because when I was in Honduras, like no one used their seatbelt.
You would think with how impatient people are with driving and driving really fast, people would wear their seatbelts, but no.
And like, car accidents are a thing here. It's pretty bad.
From Miami, so we come from terrible driving,
Yeah.
and we understand what terrible driving is because South Florida is terrible if you've ever driven through there.
Yeah.
But here it's like a whole other level
I
of...
guess another safety issue would be like the air quality here. So especially like we like to work out a lot and we like to go on runs.
Might not look like it. It's just because I'm eating
Yeah,
a lot of
we
bad
eat
food.
a lot of food,
Yeah.
but we like to go on
Hit me up in
runs.
a couple of months when I'm back in my college town.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, when we're like running and stuff, sometimes you can like feel it, and I don't know, like even Almaty is known to be one of the most polluted cities in the world, and that's just because you have a lot of mountains, and then we're like in the valley, so all the smog that builds up from all the cars it's like trapped here. So you're breathing all of that in, and sometimes you can feel it, especially like when you're walking around and running, it's not that great. So, I mean, how would I have changed that though? Like, I feel like I would have just, I don't know, prepared myself more. Like, just something that you should just keep in mind and
Yeah.
prepare yourself physically. So don't come thinking that, especially if you're coming like in the spring semester when it's like really cold, that's when they use coal to heat up their houses. So if you're here and in the winter, you shouldn't be like, yeah, I'm gonna run every day.
Yeah.
Number 3, money. So in regards to money, you should always have cash on you. And you can't use your card all the time. And even though like there are certain apps that allow you to put your credit card number in there, you can't do it because it's not from Kazakhstan. So always have cash on you wherever you go. And I guess like another thing about this is that they don't really like giving change. And that's kind of annoying because you need to go to the ATM a lot.
So what happened to me was, make sure before you leave that you check, like, if you're gonna study abroad and you're still in the U.S. and you're calling your phone company and whatnot, you're calling your banks, you know, to let them know that you're going abroad. Make sure you know the policies on transaction fees, on withdrawal fees. So one thing that I didn't check with my bank was this also applied to the U.S. I just didn't know. I didn't know that after the 10th cash withdrawal, you start getting charged per withdrawal. And even when I called, that wasn't mentioned to me, but that was partially my fault because that was part of the contract that I signed. And again, who really reads the fine print? But it's something you're gonna have to do. I learned it the hard way. You're gonna have to read the fine print, you know, look over all the policies, ask all the questions you can before leaving.
Just be smart with that.
Yeah, don't go crazy on the ATM like I did.
Yeah. We would take out money like every day just to make sure we could pay the Yandex guy. Mm-hmm.
It's usually like the smaller like shops that tend to not be nice about it.
Because they don't have a lot of customers coming sometimes, and then they don't have change to give you. So it's understandable why. I'm not saying like they just don't like counting money and giving money back to you. It's probably because they do not have the money to be giving back to you. So
unless it's the cafeteria, they have the money.
Okay, I guess it also depends on the area for sure. Okay, so number 4, modern. So I personally think that Almaty is a pretty modern city compared to how it was in the 1990s.
You were here in the 90s?
I wasn't here in the 90s, but what I've watched on documentaries and what I've read about, it didn't seem as modern as it is now. I mean, yeah, honestly, like McDonald's, I think I said this in my video before, but it did just come in 2 years ago. But a lot of stores have been coming into Almaty, and I was pretty surprised because when I think of like Central Asia, I never really thought about all these shops and malls and futuristic type buildings here. But it really did surprise me. So yeah.
I'd say Kazakhstan is very particular in the sense that it's a crossroads of the history of Kazakhstan, and the people who have lived in this country has always been like a crossroads, you know, influence from East Asia as well as from Eastern Europe, from Turkic culture, Soviet influence. So it's always been a blend that makes it its own unique thing. And I'd say the fact that cities such as Astana, the capital, and Almaty, where we are now, which was the former capital, just have that modern influence as well. You see a lot of Western businesses.
Kind of like worried about that, especially coming from the States. I was like, I need to bring everything. Like I need to bring a power bank. I need to bring this. I need to get that. So my suitcase was packed full of stuff, which I kind of regret because it's like I could have just came here and bought everything I needed. But I don't know. Some of the stuff we brought from the States, like our power bank, it broke. So
and we bought a good one
here.
We
bought a better one here, which has lasted us longer. So don't pack everything like crazy if you know you're going to like a big city like Almaty here. And a lot of the things here are even cheaper, so you probably could find the same quality and at a cheaper price. So just wait on it.
You all that Gucci?
Yeah, a lot of people here do dress up nice.
You'll see babies wearing like a Gucci like onesie. I'm not even joking.
Yeah. So, and that's another thing I guess you could say about it being modern. You know, everyone dresses normally, like as you would in the States, except of course they do dress up a lot here, more than they would in the States. Next one, food. This is your favorite topic.
I don't.
Probably my favorite topic
you should
too.
Start.
Oh, you're like chubby chubs.
I know, I am chubs.
Okay, so food. Alright, so people here obviously eat differently than you would in America.
They're very proud of their food.
If it's not obvious. So, especially here in Kazakhstan, a lot of people, they were nomads?
They were nomads.
Okay. So they really only ate animals or animal products because they had their horses, they had their camels, and they had some sheep. And they would just travel around to wherever their animals needed to go to. And then they would eat their animals. They wouldn't really grow carrots, any vegetables, because you'd have to stay there to grow those things. So it's kind of like part in their past. So here, they still eat a lot of meat.
Meat and carbs.
Meat, bread. Wouldn't be really eating out in places that you don't know where the food was prepared. So we had a couple of students here who did get sick from eating out in places that you don't really know was prepared, or like eating a lot of grease. So just be aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
Peanut butter.
Oh, peanut butter. Oh, I love, 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 love peanut butter. But peanut butter here is actually a luxury item.
Yeah, so I love peanut butter a lot, and if you're a peanut butter like me, I recommend bringing a lot from the States. Like, I know you're not supposed to pack much, but I think that's a must. But we did go to Stolichny, which is a store that's open 24/7, and it has an international food section. And there was peanut butter there. However, for like a little thing like this, it was like $6. So it is a luxury item. It's very expensive. So I think it's a very American thing to drink a lot of water. So I drink about 5 or 6 of these bad boys a day, and just water. Like, tap water isn't really available here like it is in America, and you shouldn't really be drinking it unless you grew up here. Like, you should definitely buy a filter or buy jugs of water.
Yeah.
Drink water, because instead they drink a lot of tea.
Yeah, I personally love, 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 love chai.
I personally do not love chai.
He really doesn't like chai. But there's like even this song that says "Что за небо без луны, что за жизнь без чайхани," which means what is the sky without a moon and what is life without chai. So I think that says enough right there.
We had our excursion in the mountains, and then we were really looking for water. And they had like this little, how do you explain it? It wasn't like a store, but it was kind of like a rest area.
Stuff. So we're like, hey y'all, do you have any water to fill up our water bottles with? And then they were like, no, but we have chai.
Yeah.
And like that was like a pretty like bad day for Glenn. Like that moment.
Yeah.
He was just like, are you serious?
I just personally drink a lot of water.
Yeah, and it was just like really annoying because it's like you have tea but you don't have water. It doesn't make sense. Like you get upset, and that's just another thing. Like just calm down, relax, understand you're in another country. Like if you're traditional, so you sit down, you have a big like dinner, and you have chai there, a person who like is passing around the chai. So we drink chai out of these little bowls. It's called piala, and so you'll have like a lot of these little pialas being passed around, and you'll fill it with chai and milk, and it's really nice. It's very cultural, and it's a good experience. But it is a little suckish when you don't like tea. Number 6, which is phone. So anyways, I like it's not too much about phones, but just like I don't know, like having a phone here is a lot cheaper than having a phone in the States. So I have T-Mobile, and I pay around $50 a month for T-Mobile. And I didn't cancel my plan because I just assumed because T-Mobile's like they have this plan where you go abroad and it'll be the same. It'll work while you're abroad. I think you pay like an extra $5 too. You paid like $55, and that's what I did. But then they're like, oh, if your phone's unlocked, you could just put a SIM card from here and have a Kazakh number. I don't know why I didn't think about this before. But I was like, all right, cool, I guess I'll do that. It seems a little complicated, but it's not too complicated. You just go to the store, and the lady puts in a SIM card, and instead of paying $55 a month, you pay like $5 a month.
Unlimited plan too.
Yeah, unlimited. So it's great service, really fast, all just for $5. But you need your phone unlocked.
Wi-Fi culture and cafe culture has grown a lot here, so
yeah, there's a lot of Wi-Fi.
Just like being in a city in the U.S.,
it's extremely
you'll find
modern.
Wi-Fi.
It really depends. But here, if you're traveling to Almaty or like a big city in Central Asia, you're probably gonna have Wi-Fi. So yeah, number 7, which is church. So we are religious, we're Christians, and it was kind of like there weren't that many options available for church.
And Kazakhstan is a majority Muslim country, but there's a lot of just like there's a lot of ethnic diversity. There is, to a certain degree, some type of religious diversity and religious tolerance. But like Tanya said, it's not as available as you would in a city in the U.S.
We're gonna go into the cultural mentality. That's gonna be our last topic of today. Yeah. So I really think that over here they're definitely more open and kind. They're very hospitable. When you go into their house, they definitely want to like give you food. You know, they want to make sure you're good. I feel like I very much relate to that with the Hispanic side. You know, I feel like they're very loving and they're very kind. And this is over the years because, I mean, a lot of people were sent here for the gulags here, but a lot of the people would always like welcome them into their place. I feel like it's just their cultural. I feel like it's very much their culture to be hospitable and loving. But of course, with every culture, you're gonna have your differences because we are from the US, we do things one way, but then you come over here and it's like completely different, and you definitely want to be like, oh my goodness, like what are you doing? So we're gonna kind of tell you about our experience in that realm, in that area. Yeah.
So the thing about Kazakhstan is just so, I don't know if peculiar is a word, but it's just so special in its way. So at least here in Almaty, there's a lot of diversity in the sense of there's different ethnicities and whatnot. There's diversity here in Almaty. However, one thing that kind of puts you aside as a foreigner is how well you can speak Russian. And also, I guess, mannerisms are different. And going to my point before about diversity, so yes, Almaty is pretty diverse, and I'd say pretty tolerant as well. However, I'm saying this a lot, but yeah, there's a lot of diversity, but at the same time, I don't think they're used to foreigners, especially foreigners that don't come from a Russian-speaking or Turkic-speaking background. So, for example, when we started going to our gym, we didn't know it was a thing that you had to bring a separate pair of shoes, that you had your street shoes and then you had your gym shoes. And when you first walk in, you're supposed to walk around the gym in this special type of tile with your outdoor shoes, and then you change into your gym shoes that you only wear at the gym, and then you can go work out. And it was like Tani's first day, and like the lady was trying to explain it to you, or like no, she looked at you weird because we didn't understand it, but that's just not a thing in America. And things like that. And then just they have a lot of traditional beliefs that have been passed on from
like don't whistle
ancestry.
in the house. Like,
yeah, so
like
that's
that.
it's like it can get frustrating. Okay, my personal thing is like I get frustrated, and I'm working on it. So I get frustrated when I hear things like, oh, you can't whistle inside, you can't whistle indoors because that can bring in bad luck. But then I think about the whole seatbelt situation, so it's just something you're just gonna have to accept.
You just have to respect, this is the way they've lived for years. You can't just automatically change another person's mentality.
Yeah, and then this whole thing with, okay, so,
and it's a lot of unsolicited advice.
Yes.
So you may get annoyed. You're like, you know, like in the States, you could like literally, I feel like you could do whatever you want. Someone will be like, all right, whatever, you know. But here it's like, they want things done a certain way. But again, that's be yourself. And it's obvious that you're a foreigner. You're going to stand out sometimes. I will say, like, don't try to be one. Like, don't sit outside and like scream in English and like, you know, put more attention to yourself. Try to speak lower. I mean, again, like I'm Hispanic, I'm American. I tend to speak louder, be personal space. So we tend to, you know, stand farther apart and speak louder in order to communicate. While here, they'll literally whisper. I feel like they're whispering. They'll be like, you know, and then I'll be like, what are you saying? But that's just it. They'll stand closer to you. They're not afraid to get up in your space. But cultural differences that you just have to work with. I feel like you're not here to come and tell people how to do something or like change their ways. You're here to learn about how they do things. Definitely a different experience, and that's why I definitely believe that everyone, even if you're not studying a language, should be going abroad, because you're going to learn the most when you're here. So, yeah, that's all I have to say. And anything you want to add on, Glenn?
I think I've said too much.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button.
Yeah, but you know, it's a lot of information that we just wish we knew before going abroad, and I feel like it'd be very helpful if you're deciding to come to Central Asia or just going abroad in general. So, yeah. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.